Good morning, BookTube, YouTube. This is Johnny. Thought I'd make a video. It's been, going on almost over a week. And yeah, it's the same thing here. I'm just out of it. Yep. Today is April the 12th, 2025. It is 9:55 in the morning here in Holland, Michigan. It is a cold, sunny day. It's in the 30s. And yeah, it's been a while since I made a video. It's not that I don't have books to talk about or what it's like to sit inside the Herman hut watching Rome burn to the ground. It's just, maybe I'm just really burnt out. I'm exhausted and disenchanted, saddened, depressed. Just what's going on in the world and our country and what Trump is doing and the Republicans and evangelical American silver religion Christians and things like that. Kind of depressing. But I still continue to read and write. I don't, that's what I do. That's the only two things I really have seemed to do in my old age, in my my twilight years. I'm on page 329 in my paper diary. Yeah, it's April the 12th, 2025. It is a Saturday morning. My wife is at her church. They're having a women's tea for the women in the church. And I thought about making a video tomorrow when my wife's at church. And then next week, as you know, my wife is flying out to Denver, Colorado to spend a week with our daughter and her family. We have 4 grandchildren. She's married to Andy, who's an engineer, and they live in Denver. And I'll be here for a week. And usually, you know, I make more videos when I'm alone. Here inside the hermit hut, as I watch out the windows and see the fall of Babylon. But yeah, so what I plan to do in this video is just basically what I have been reading the last couple of days, not what I've been reading the last 10 days, just current things. So as you know, my routine is to read Christian books in the morning as I'm writing in my paper diary. And I have been forcing myself when I'm going to read something in the morning, even though I feel really burnt out. I've been reading, I told you I got this last month, the volume 5 of Denis, the Carthusians Commentary in the Davidic Psalms. This is volume 5, Psalm 101 to 125. This is a projected six volumes. So I've been reading this in the mornings, not every morning, but as you know, I'm on Psalm 105. And then other mornings I read Christ's prayer before his passion, expository sermons on John 17. This is volume 1, this is volume 2. And I'm almost done with this. I'm on sermon 54. And there is, I think, 145 sermons on John 17 in this volume. And as you know, I've told you Anthony Burgess was an English Puritan. He died in 1664. This is not an original. It's been typed and set to modern type. You can read this online. It's online. Expository Sermons on John 17 by the Puritan divine Anthony Burgess. As I've told you, the Reformation Heritage, far as I know, is going to publish a 14-volume works of Anthony Burgess. I don't know now, since our economy is crashing and we're in a state of economic collapse, so I don't really know. But anyway, I've been reading this in the mornings when I'm able to gather my wits and reading on the Psalms. Just recently, I don't think now in the mornings, my wife and I, we try to read through, when we're able to get together in the mornings, not every morning, but we usually read in the mornings for devotions. We're going through the New Testament, and we are going through the Acts of the Apostles. And this morning, I think we're coming to the last chapter of Acts. And then at night, before we go to bed, my wife and I, we read, in the Acts of the Apostles, we're not at the end. We're going to be on chapter 6 of the Acts of the Apostles, and we're at the last chapter on the Epistle of the Romans at night. So we're reading through the New Testament in the mornings. We've gone through the Gospels. We're going through Acts. And then at night we're going through Romans. And so, and then we read, after we read the portion of Scripture, my wife likes to read the Valley of Vision, a collection of Puritan prayers and devotions. So we read that in the mornings, generally for our devotions. Now, as you know, my wife, she reads through the Bible. She follows in her plan. My wife follows this: read the Bible in a year, calendar of daily readings. Robert Murray McShane, who was a Scottish minister, she uses this for her own, and she goes through the Old Testament once, the Psalms twice, and the New Testament twice. Psalms twice, New Testament twice, Old Testament once. So she follows this. So she reads it. That's what she does when she gets up. My wife gets up really early, 5 o'clock. I usually get up around 7:30, 8 o'clock. And so, yeah, the book of Psalms, Psalm 105 we're in. So, and then I got this book yesterday. I ordered it, and as you know, I'm into Herman Bavinck right now, the 20th century Dutch Reformed theologian. I got this book in the mail yesterday. Orthodox yet modern, Herman Bavinck's use of Friedrich Schleiermacher by Cory Block. So I started looking at this yesterday, and I'll look at it this morning. I'm supposed to get today volume 3. I showed you recently volume 3 of Herman Bavinck's Reformed Ethics. It's supposed to come today by UPS, and I'll show that in a future video with the 2 other volumes of his Reformed Ethics, translated out of the Dutch recently. As far as Christian books, yesterday gas was down, gasoline was down, so I went to Myers, which is a grocery store. They have a gas station, and I filled my car up with gas. And when I was driving home, which Myers is just about 5-6 minutes from where we live, I always drive by Gateway Rescue Mission thrift store. It's a big, huge, gigantic thrift store. It has all kinds of things, furniture, clothing, and it has CDs, DVDs. It has used books. As you know, if I'm driving by Gateway, I have to stop and look at the used books. It's just, if I'm by any thrift store, I gotta stop and see if there's any used books. So I stopped and they had these commentaries. Now I just showed you in March, I found a whole stack of New Century Bible commentaries. I don't know, about maybe 10, 12 New Testament, Old Testament biblical commentaries. So yesterday I stopped by Gateway and I found these commentaries for $14. Now these are, some of these I already, so I bought these commentaries. 3 I already had, which I'm not going to show you in this video. Those 3 I already had in my library. Those I gave to Carol, and she put those in her library. But these are the ones I didn't have in my library, my Christian library, these commentaries. And they're from a series called the NIV Application Commentary Series, published by Zondervan. And they're basically evangelical. They're not over academic. They're not really difficult. They're application, which means at the end, as they go through the text, at the end of it, they always give what is called contemporary significance. They seek to apply the text or the portion of scripture to contemporary cultural or societal or things like that. So it's kind of interesting. It also has bridging the context, and so they're kind of, they're just basic biblical commentaries. So I'll show those to you. The first, I'll just show you, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I found 13. 3 I already had. I gave those to my wife. I'm not going to show them in this video. First one is 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, NIV, which is New International Version. That's a translation of the Bible. So they use in these commentaries the New International Version of the Bible translation. And I've shown that translation. I told you when I was in Bible college and seminary, that was what we used in our classes, was the NIV translation. As you know, I use the New King James and King James, but this is by Michael W. Holmes. And then I found James, the NIV application commentary by David P. Nenstrom. And they're not underlined, they're perfect condition. They do have the owner, who was a woman. Ephesians NIV application commentary by Clyde Snodgrass. Clyde. They're all hardback, really nice. Perfect condition, not underlined. The NIV application commentary by David E. Garland on Colossians and Philemon. This is an Old Testament one, Daniel by Trimmer Longman III on Daniel, the NIV application commentary. This is on Philippians by Frank Thaman, NIV application commentary on Philippians. I have other books by Frank Thaman in my library. And then this is 1st and 2nd Timothy and Titus, NIV application commentary by Walter L. Liefeld. This is 2 Peter and Jude by Douglas J. Moo. NIV Application Commentary. I really like Moo. I have Moo on Romans. I have in other books by Moo. He's really good. This is Scott McKnight on 1 Peter, NIV Application Commentary. Then lastly, this is on Ecclesiastes and the Song of Songs, NIV Application Commentary by Ian Progan. So I found all those. I got 13 commentaries and some other books for $14.32. They're in perfect condition. They're not underlined. They're just in pristine condition. And most of these would go for $25, $30 in a retail Christian bookstore. This one goes for $25. There's a price. These go for $25. Now, and this one came out. This came out in 2001. Think how much they are today. I also found at Gateway Rescue Mission this book, which I was reading yesterday, is called The Smith Tapes, Lost Interviews, Rock Stars and Icons, 1969 to 1972. These are interviews, and this is interviews by a guy named, his name was Howard Smith. Howard Smith, during the late 60s and 70s, he had a column in the Village Voice, which is wasn't like a counterculture kind of newspaper in Greenwich Village in New York City, and he had a column where he had a radio show on a station where he interviewed people like Eric Clapton, Jane Fonda, Jerry Garcia, Allen Ginsberg, Dick Gregory, Dennis Hopper, just some of these names. George Harrison, Carole King, Janis Joplin, John Lennon and Yoko Ono, Norman Mailer, Jim Morrison, just goes on and on. So these are interviews with, they were on, you can get the box set. There's a box that's 12 CDs of these recorded interviews. But these are, I don't think they're complete transcripts of the interviews, but they are very interesting. And since I'm into that time period, I got this. The Smith Tapes, Lost Interviews with Rock Stars and Icons, 1969 to 1972. So I was really pleased to find that. So these are what I've been reading when I'm able to get my head together. I'm still reading Anne Carson's essays and poetry, Wrong Norma. So I read this. I read nonfiction, usually poetry, in the afternoons. Still reading, when I'm able, Inventing Eastern Europe, The Map of Civilization on the Mind of the Enlightenment by Larry Wolff. These are what I've been reading lately, the last 10 days, as far as nonfiction. There are other things that I could read. There are on my table by my reading chair in the living room, but this is what I've been reading the last 10 days. And as far as nonfiction, when I'm able to read in the afternoons, usually, as you know, around noon, I stop reading my Christian books, and I sit in the dining room, in the living room, in my chair, and I kind of ponder and meditate, sit in silence, and I read nonfiction. And I've been reading Free Speech, A History from Socrates to Social Media by Jacob McCamrama. I can't pronounce the name. So these are this is the nonfiction. Now, when it comes to fiction, what I'm able to read in the evenings. Now, last week we watched the college basketball championships, and we watched those March Madness. We watched some of those games, and but usually, and I like watching nature shows in the evening on public stations and things like that. But usually I've been reading, as far as fiction, the last couple of days, Sister Europe by Nell, Zink. I'm halfway through this. This is her newest novel I've been reading. And then last week I saw a movie trailer with Naomi Watts and Bill Murray. And it was based on a book that I had in my library. And it's called The Friend, a novel by Sigrid Nunez. And I had this in my library. And so when I saw the movie trailer, as you know, I don't go to movies. I do watch movie trailers on YouTube. But there was a trailer for this, and then Naomi Watts was on different talk shows promoting her new film, The Friend, with Bill Murray. Naomi Watts is a very famous actress, British actress. And so I got this out, and I've been reading it and really enjoying it. Highly recommend it. I'm almost done with this. I got maybe 10 pages left. So I've been reading this before I go to bed at night. In the evenings, The Friend by Sigrid Nunez. I have other books by her in my library, which one I can't find. She's written other novels. I had her novel, The Naked Sleeper. She wrote a memoir with her friendship with Susan Sontag. Anyway, I have her book, Myths, Marmoset of Bloomsbury. I have that by her. But highly recommend this. Short little thing. You could probably read it in a day. So that's what I've been reading. That's what's on my mind. That's what I found at thrift stores. Yeah, I've been reading the interviews. I started reading this last night. I got it yesterday. I was reading, the last interview was with Bill Graham, and then there was an interview with Sly Stone and the family, Andy Warhol, Paul Morrissey, Norman Mailer, Lou Reed. There was an interview I read with other people. Anyway, so yeah, I like reading about the 60s and the early 70s. As you know, I was born in 52, and I was in high school in the late 60s, and I was in the Bay Area. You know, I was born in Oakland, California. So, and I've always been into the kind of counterculture, the music of the Bay Area, San Francisco, Jerry Garcia, Jefferson Airplanes. Bill Graham, he started the Fillmore West, which was a rock club in San Francisco that I went to when I was in high school. Winterland Ballroom, which I went to when I was in high school, that Bill Graham was the owner of or started. Yeah, there's interviews with George Harrison, Allen Ginsberg, Dennis Hopper. Anyway, so that's what's going on in my reading world. It's going on 25 minutes. As you know, this thing shuts off in 30 minutes. So I hope you're all doing well. Thank you for hanging in there with me. You didn't leave me. So yeah, I'm doing okay. Like I said, I'm kind of burnt out, kind of depressed, really upset about what's going on in our country. It's just very, very discouraging, very, very disheartening. So yeah, I sit inside the Herman hut, look out the window and watch Rome burn to the ground. And so yeah, writing in my diary, drinking coffee. So I'll be reading on this new book on Herman Bavinck this morning, reading on the Psalms, going to the New Testament. I'll put these commentaries down the lower level and look outside the window, enjoy the sunshine, and seek the Lord while he may be found. So I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're just hanging in there. I don't have anything to say about how we can... It just looks really bad. That's all I can say. And like I said, I've always said in my videos over the last 8-9 years, I just pray every day, come quickly, Lord Jesus. So until next time, may the Lord bless.